Yeah, I think this is probably the best Winternight Stories deck. What are we gonna do to make Phoenix good? Can you play Panharmonicon in the Dragonclaw deck over the other 4-drop creatures because it's sometimes better and an all-time cooler? Elish Norn, I mean, Panharmonicon sucks. You would play Elish Norn if you wanted that kind of effect. One day, the blue-white flicker deck will be a banger again. Oh, Scion giving some vigilance to you attack and then flash it back. That is pretty cool. Yeah, in this deck you get the free hollow ones, you get Vengevines, Marco Sharko can flash it back. You also just get, this is just in your graveyard huge chunk of the time. It was literally 1.5 months ago, probably. Something like that. But I just remember that I had been saying that Vengevine was, like, in my opinion, the right direction to go for, like, longer than it took for it to get adopted. Well, this sure is a deck. They sure did unban Faithless Looting. Welcome back. Maybe dumb, but Bowmasters see more mad than good for a while. I agree, yeah. Did you mill over a K return? Questing Bay with the 42 months. Thank you so much. So if they take this temple and then they have another double land, then they can maybe just flashback K return on turn 3. So finding a Phoenix to put on the hollow one could be pretty important here. Could we lose this game? We have lethal next turn pretty easily. I think I'm going to flashback the Winternight Stories. Mostly hoping to find a Phoenix. Okay, discard a creature card in Vengevine here. Okay, I was hoping I would discard a... I did get another Vengevine in the yard. Sadly, not getting back both of them here this turn. I was hoping that I would maybe discard a double land from their hand here. Wow. I would Inquiry before land. Inquiry discarding their game plan is relevant. I mean, it's random. But it's crazy that we might just lose this. I was kind of hoping to dig for Winternight for Detective's Phoenix to keep a hollow one. I mean, I even said this, to keep a hollow one alive after this happens. And to me, that seems like... I think that still seems like the better thing to have done. Dude, my opponent's even dunking on me in the chat. So I milled 2 Detectives Phoenix. I think I'm just gonna looting here. Probably getting Bajuka bogged out of this game. If only my Burning Inquiry had been better. Alright, Consign's in. I'm going to go down 1 Phoenix here. Not going to bring in Blood Moon. Blood Moon's for Titan mostly. Very tough for them to flashback K return on turn 3. They just have to mill over it with Rumble. And go triple, sprawl into double land, or Talisman on turn 1. What's this? Where's my turn 1 wonder? Or my 1 wonder? I don't think the flying matters that much, especially with Phoenix in the deck. Cannot believe we lost after putting 13 power into play on turn 1. It's crazy. And also the fact that Eldrazi seems to have remembered that that K return is insane in their deck and is a huge part of the reason why their deck can win, is also a problem for us. Well, Draw this game not quite as good. We do have 2 Vengevines in the yard. We do have 3 Vengevines in the yard. All right. They put a Chrysalis into their hand here. Come on, stay in my hand, these two. Come on. Dang. Well, this game sucks. This match sucks. All right, so they can make a 5/6. It's not quite enough to get me. I can go Rootwalla, pump Rootwalla, and then my Winternight Stories costs less. Although the thing is, if I pump the Rootwalla, they're just going to crack the Crypt in response. Okay, they just cracked the Crypt in response to the Arid Mesa. It seemed like that wasn't so much on their radar. Maybe I was wrong. Because JLo doesn't stop flashback or harmonize spells. But maybe I should have just started off with the Faithless Looting. We do have them down to 5 despite this gross game here. And then they stabilize. I concede to the Sanctum crack. I didn't think I'd be saying this after putting 13 power into play turn 1, but tough match. Tough match. Because it doesn't go to the stack. I think what I'm thinking of is Flage, maybe? Because like Flage goes from the stack, from the graveyard to the stack. Yeah, I think I'm thinking of Flage. Yeah, Chrysalis has reach, but it was a 6/6 against the 5/6. Okay, Entomb on turn 1 here. Okay, no second lands. Take that. So that's 1 spell for the 2 Vengevines in my yard. Let's flash back the stories. Creature card. So looting gives me 2 looks at a hollow one, but I can for sure keep, or a Rootwalla, but I can for sure keep those in my hand, versus the increase 3 looks, but I cannot for sure keep them in my hand. So I think this is better. It looks like it ends up paying off. Alright, so no Solitude Ephemerate means that we should be winning this one pretty easy. I used to play a lot of Legacy a long time ago, Ranar. At one point I even considered myself primarily a Legacy player, but I've been not as involved with the format for a long time. Yeah, I'd sometimes play Ant in a Legacy tournament. Alright, to leave our graveyard hate at home. There's not been a lot of graveyard decks in the format lately. think I'm going to try to Blood Moon them, even though we're on the draw. Stories has been looking good, just like powerful 1-mana card advantage from the graveyard. And it's even more than just card advantage, because it also just synergizes with the whole deck. Yeah, we have played Winternight Demi Phoenix. It was good in Demi Phoenix, but the Demi Phoenix archetype just, I don't think is well positioned enough to really want to play. Which is sad, because I do love that archetype. Got a looting so we can for sure Z's hollow one. Unless they have force, I guess. Okay. I knew as soon as I said for sure Z's. As soon as those beautiful words exited my mouth. This hollow one was not going to interplay this turn. I miss the days of blue-red Murktide being top dog. Hard to justify Phoenix when people are main decking Relic. The main deck Relic stuff is a lot less these days, for whatever that's worth. I also miss the days of blue-red Phoenix being top dog. I want to play more of the art. Is it Steel Cutter deck? Well, excuse me. I was just trying to resolve some spells, dude. That is -2 Atraxas for whatever that's worth. Were there any cards in Aether Drift or Dragonstorm that would be significant enough to add to your Omniscience decks? No, I have been thinking that in those decks I want to play Arbor Elf over the Unholy Heats that I've been playing. Just try to be a faster version of that deck. Okay, so Graveyard the Hollow One. Was there ever any doubt? My hand has 3 good cards to discard, so we'll cast this Inquiry. Okay, so we did discard Vengevine. And we get to go cast a Shark, bring back the Vengevine. Down to 13. If the main deck relics aren't the problem, what is, if you don't mind me asking? Yeah, it's like one thing is like Psychic Frog is a card that if your opponent plays, you have a very difficult time dealing with. Your opponent's like your Boros energies like curves are able to like keep up with your powerful Phoenix Stimulus draws too, while also like you're vulnerable to disruption and having slower draws. Your interaction doesn't line up very well against Eldrazi. It doesn't line up very well against Titan. It does line up pretty well against Storm and Belcher, but your deck is just kind of slow and the interaction doesn't line up super well. Is the problem. And that's not a very good problem to have. Do really want this to resolve. Okay, so we make a big shark. Right now we have 9 power. A Phoenix gives me 11 power. Oh, sorry, 12. 12 is a lot more than 11 here because it's going to cut my opponent off of cracking this fetch if they don't have anything. Is Ketcheros around still? Not so much. Not so much. The Ketcheros decks are very bad against Eldrazi, and Eldrazi's, been the top dog for a little bit now. Discards a Hallowed Fountain. Does crack the fetch, though. Keeps a card on top. They have to have Solitude or they're dead here. There's 2 Solitudes in the graveyard. Okay, there's a Solitude. They pitch an Ephemerate. Guess brutal, they just didn't have another white card. What do you think of Is It Wizards? Please let me live in the past. Yeah, so we had this Is It list. Party Thrasher is really interesting with Corey Steelcutter. Party Thrasher is really interesting with Steelcutter, where it lets you cast 2 spells a turn really consistently. It lets you also, like, the tokens from Steelcutter can convoke out your other spells. Okay, well there's Ketchamos. So I'm assuming this gets held back and then they die to a Phoenix. What are my thoughts on Jolted Awake with Steel Cutter and Unstable Amulet package? Should be fun. We have done that already, yeah, in the Boros build. And I ended up cutting the Jolted Awakes because your Steel Cutters just don't go to the yard very much. But I do like our Boros build. We should play more of the Boros build too. It's a little bit of a bad hit on Amulet. A little bit, but I mean, it's like if you have Amulet, you probably have 3 mana. Also, when you hit, like, when you exile things in this deck to cast, if you end up playing Party Thrasher, then you can convoke them out. Flame of Ador does kill Corey. That is kind of a big deal. Right. Pretty sure we want to hold the Rootwalla to try to get the Vengevine back. Yeah, we put 13 power into play. Game 1, match 1. We got O2'd. Maybe getting our revenge here. No, our opponent flashback K return on turn 3. Remember when looting was the best card of Modern? It's turns like this, it definitely gives you the reminiscing of it being the best card. I think we need to bolt because we can just activate the Rootwallas. Alright, so this is 8 plus 2 is 10, 12, 14. We have a bolt in our hand. What do you make of the recent iterations of Amulet that don't use Dry and have gone to Scapeshift? Scapeshift is nuts in the deck. 4 lands and a Spelunking or an Amulet is game over. It's pretty good. And those are the only opinions about Amulet Titan I have. We could go down to Winternight on the draw. Why didn't you just have this draw in the other Eldrazi match? I mean, my draw in the other Eldrazi match was better, but we were just on the draw and they had the nuts. Thrasher, discard Winternight, get all the values. Kind of hard to have high power creatures in these decks though. I do like Winternight Stories a lot. Like it is a really powerful card. That just like the format is just so strong. It's hard to really even think too much about it. You know, Kiora. Someone mentioned Kiora in the chat. This could be better than Deep Analysis in the Kiora shells that we've been playing. It also seems pretty good to like play Kiora, discard Winternight Stories, attack with Kiora, make the 8/8, then you get to flash it back for 1 mana. That could be good. Steel Cutter is very good with Arcanist. These Arcanists every day. I know people love that card, but Arcanist is just like in these. It never makes the cut in the Izzet decks. Like Dreadhorde Arcanist is worse than Iteration, Steel Cutter, and Stable Amulet, and I also think it's worse than Party Thrasher would be, which is so it's like the 5th best 2 mana threat. Maybe there are even other 2 mana threats that are better. I'll probably be generous and say it could be the 5th best, but it's like that doesn't make the cut. Also, like Arcanist flashing back the 2nd spell, like if that's what you're trying to do, like that can be a bit awkward too because you don't even get to attack with the creature. Magus over Moon. I have Moon intentionally over Magus. 1, so you can be a bit more versatile how you boarded him in. Like we got to bring in Moon against Goryo's last round. There's a few other matchups where you just want to bring him in. But also against Titan, they're going to be bringing in like sweepers against you for sure. Right. My impression is that they bring in sweepers against you. And I want to be able to... Okay, my opponent's on a mold of 5. I guess I put back a Rootwalla. Where's I going with this? Like Eldrazi's gonna be bringing in their Dismembers. They're gonna be bringing in all of their creature removal, and so I think trying to pivot away from that is a fine direction to go. Not sure if Titans bringing in supers against Hollow and they don't hit much. Yeah, maybe I'm wrong. They're bringing in the Dismembers though, right? But also, like, the moons are a bit more versatile. My opponent exiles 3 Karn to the Devourer. Togo, thank you for the raid. Hope you're doing well. Trying out Winternight Stories in the Hollowvine shell for now. I wonder. I think I'm just gonna actually consign the K command instead of casting the Inquiry right now. I miss out on maybe 3 damage, but my opponent's on a mold of 5. They almost for sure have a K command here. If they don't somehow, it's not like that ends up being that bad for me. Huh. Titan brings in Dismember, but also probably Force of Vigor, so you can get either way. Yeah, I mean this is obviously a big part of the problem. I gotta use our mana here. Is red green or mono green Eldrazi better? Like you gotta play. You have to play the stupid. Sorry, you have like in my opinion, it's almost definitely correct to be playing K return. Like I've been playing against these Eldrazi decks, and I'm just like, I've really been enjoying these 2 weeks that they lost their mind and stopped putting K return into their deck. So I think I'm gonna go 2 cards here. Partially to make the sharks bigger, but also I might just want to flash back the other Winternight Stories. Yeah, we missed out on 7 damage, but we still just have lethal next turn, and we can maybe get the Vengevine back this way. So yeah, 2 cards, discard 1, 2. My Marco Sharkos are 9/9s. I cast a Blazing Rootwalla. I get back a Vengevine. And Winternight Stories is looking awesome. Spike, I really think there might be something with Detectives Phoenix plus Cutter. Have I tried that yet, Spike? Well, the thing is, Cutter, Party Thrasher. Wait, oh, Phoenix Cutter. The Detectives Phoenix Cutter. Sorry, that's what you said. Maybe. The one thing is, Steel Cutter really rewards you for playing a bunch of 0 mana cards, right? So Mishra's Bauble, Mutagenic Growth, Mox Opal. And then Phoenix really rewards you for playing higher mana value cards, but of course you kind of cheat on those anyways. So I'm not sure what that would look like. Wow, my opponent seems to have just held the K return there. I guess maybe I telegraphed the Consign. Could be good. Right. I'm just gonna play. Well, yeah. I don't think I mind if they K return next turn. Just gonna play 2 more sharks. There's no reason to discard Phoenix there. Yeah, it can be cast from the yard, and I get an extra counter on my sharks if I discard it. So like, I mean, this is a start of an idea. The Phoenix plus Steel Cutter, like they're both good red aggro cards. Phoenix is mostly good in this shell, and this is not a very good Steel Cutter shell. But we could take a look. Okay, we get our revenge on Eldrazi. It's a hard hand to mulligan, so let's not. The decks that are better at casting Ugin get to play Ugin maybe. Alright, turn 1 Urza Saga. We're on the draw. Is Karn still mandatory for Eldrazi? Yeah, like, Karn is insanely good in the deck. I think it's actually good in every single matchup. Including the mirror. Including it's like one of your best tools in the mirror, and the mirror is very popular. I guess we cycle a hollow one, cast a hollow one. Or maybe I guess just casting 2 hollow ones was better, huh? They get to draw a nice Burning Inquiry, though. Ugin won me like 6 of my matches RCQ. I mean, Ugin is very good. Ugin is very powerful. Ugin is worse in like the stock Eldrazi builds than it is in like the Aetherworks Marvel deck we played. It's worse than the mono green build with Overgrowth. It's worse than the build with the Dice Factory stuff. So I don't know. It's just, I just like to see maybe a little bit of open-mindedness. Okay, so they rumble and they take a Simic Growth Chamber here. Okay, interesting. So this is one spell for me to cast this turn. Don't have a Detective's Phoenix yet. Might as well Surveil. Phoenix would be so nice. So if they don't block, I guess they're not quite dead to a bolt, huh? I completely agree it's strong in other decks. I think it's very, very strong in Eldrazi Ramp if you build the deck around it. So what does building the deck around it look like for you? Because this is kind of one complaint I've had about stock Eldrazi builds. It doesn't seem like they're building around it. At least not very well. All right, this lets them cast a Primeval Titan. Yes, you can choose to discard 2 creatures to Winternight Stories if you want. They get Aftermath Analyst with only a Saga and a Mirror Pool in the yard. Then they mill over a Gruul Turf, which is pretty relevant. This is only 5 mana though. If they hadn't hit this Gruul Turf, they were like really cooked, right? So they make 5 mana. Why did they get Analyst? I guess Titan just isn't enough here. Is it Nugan clunky and Eldrazi because you can't use Temple? It seems much more fit for Tron. Yeah, it is a little clunky. It's clunkier than I expected it to be. The Tron builds kind of suck though. I think I've been really liking the Dice Factory builds for whatever that's worth. So discard 2 Vengevines. I kind of feel like my opponent is holding up Beseiju here. I'm going to try to... I may be like a little paranoid, but it makes sense if they're not conceding. So I'm going to look for... I was going to look for another Hollow one or a Rootwalla to kill them with, but I did miss. So it's possible that I've just taken away my ability to present lethal for no reason. I think it's okay to play around Beseiju in this spot. Everyone who asks if it's better than Tron hasn't played Urza's Mind Expedition map turn 1 and it shows. Man, it does suck to do that in this format. I agree. Which is a big part of the reason why I'm wanting to play the Dice Factory build in the challenge tomorrow, because I do just believe that is the best. Oh, dude, imagine they got Spore Frog here. I do just believe that's the best Eldrazi build, or Ugin build rather. All right, well, let's get in there. Have you considered them having no Beseiju though? So one thing is, if they don't have Beseiju there, like how often are they bluffing it to not concede? Like in leagues, like at least some percentage of the time they are going to just concede because they're dead on board. I like maybe like what percentage would you put that at, them conceding because they're dead on board instead of bluffing Beseiju? Like probably like 40% of the time. Because literally the only thing they're playing around is me casting Winternight Stories and harmonizing it from the yard. That's the only situation I don't attack with the Hollow ones. So like just like that kind of metagame, like concede culture on Magic Online made me try to play around it, but I don't know. It's kind of tough. Maybe if it's 40%, you just attack. I mean, Tron is less dependent than ever on Tron. The issue is that if it's more of a Tempo or Lab got blown up as Tron, it's way worse than it happened as Eldrazi. Yeah, I mean that's true. Although one thing is, like, when we're talking about Tron and Modern, what are we talking about? Are we talking about the Eldrazi builds with a very light green splash and a bunch of green cards, or like at least like Myco spawns that look very, very difficult to cast? Are we talking about completely colorless Eldrazi Tron? Because to me, like I don't think that there's a stock build that we could really point to and be like that. Yes, that's it. That's what Tron right now is in 2025. And maybe there is. I just like when people say Tron, I just don't really have a clear vision for like what 75 they're talking about. Oh, sorry. I meant to discard the Winternight Stories so that I could play Hollow One and flash it back. Sorry about that. My opponent's hand seems kind of bad, so I think I'm gonna try to prioritize not Burning Inquiry, maybe making their hand good. If you lead on looting, you're probably more likely to bring back Vengevine on turn 2, but you're also high rolling, drawing a Hollow One. Yeah, looting also puts 2 counters on my Shark, so I think that's the direction I usually want to go. They are just like a land and escape shift away from killing me, so I don't want to get too comfortable here. So right now I have 12 damage in play. 15 on the Burning Inquiry. Alright, I think I'm going to Inquiry now. Odawara, okay. So this is 1 creature cast. Guess I'm going to flash this back. Discard just the Vengevine. Alright, we are dead to landscape shift. They're going to have 3 cards. I guess it can't be a bounce landscape shift, because they have to have 4 lands in play after they resolve it. Alright, let's get a 4-1 prediction going. Although the build you're talking about also plays Fleshraker. But when you're playing Lab, Tron lands, Eldrazi Temple, Expedition map, it's 24 lands, plus you have to play basics of 25. And then your Fleshrakers are a lot weaker because your mana curve is a lot higher too. So I've been liking the Dice Factory deck. What's the escape shift when there is involving Valakut or something new? I mean, something kind of new. They get Lotus Field, Bounce Land, Teleria West, and then they transmute for Aftermath Analyst, and they loop Aftermath Analyst. Sometimes they get Urza's Cave as part of the loop-de-doop. Alright. Well, sad to not have another Shark here, but always funny Thoughtseize growing your Marco Sharko. Okay, well, wish this was discarded. I would get to flash it back. We discarded Emperor of Bones and 2 lands, and we attack for 5. Maybe we just drew them into a Solitude. Yeah, Shifting Wilderness copies Analyst eventually. I kind of think Hollow One is just busted for real, so underplayed. I think Hollow One's very good too. It's underplayed for sure. I think it's definitely a viable aggro deck. Something I'm really enjoying about this new Modern is that like Prowess is pretty close to a tier 1 deck. Just like having a tier 1 aggro deck exist, and also like other alternative aggro decks. I think it's pretty cool. All right, not a very strong Thoughtseize. Although, I mean, not that I can do a lot next turn. But this is a card that has value in the graveyard. They've got 3 cards in their hand. They pitched a Witch Enchanter. They think a little bit after playing this, and then they end up passing. I guess I'm just going to play Stomping Ground tapped. Usually I would want to Surveil, but with me having Vengevine in my hand and Winternight Stories in the yard, I probably just want to get my other Stomping Ground and cast the Vengevine next turn. Took your advice. I've been playing with Devour, Ugin, Ratios, and Eldrazi turns. I found that taking turns for value has helped with the fact that you can't cast Ugin with Temple. Yeah, we were playing in that shell too. We didn't play a lot of it, I guess. I did think it was a fine shell. Hopefully they don't have Fatal Push. That would be a disaster. All right, Disaster has struck. Impending and Overlord. Mill over Witch Enchanter, Solitude Trawler. Pretty good. Oblivion Remastered is amazing. I actually downloaded it. I played like maybe an hour. That very nostalgic, and the game looks great. Was there a debate to wait a turn to use Vine to flashback stories? I mean, they had the relic in play, so it's like they had complete control over if we were going to be able to do that or not. All right, go to game 2. All right, so I could bring in some heats. I could bring in some consigns. I've been watching Dino root the Oblivion no-hit round route a little bit. Is it prowess going to last in Modern? Nothing lasts in Modern. Except for Amulet Titan. Every deck is subject to metagame changes and new busted cards getting printed and unpredictable unbans. But it's good right now. It seems like it'll be good for a little bit of time. Heat in for Wraith. Wraith is just so strong. I feel like I just want to be aggressive here. Should keep Arena in hand there for looting. That's true, yeah. Well, that's a nice looking hand. Kind of weak to a Thoughtseize. The logic is that they use Relic to stop us from using stories, then we get Vine pushed. I mean, it's just, do you think they have push or not? But also, if like the Vine is pushed, it's still not amazing for us because we have no resources. They only have a few cards in their hand. The only deck that has been strong tier 2 since the inception of Modern is Burn. It's always there and always has been. There have definitely been years where Burn is like tier 3 or below. I think only recently Burn has kind of come back to tier 2 status. I really want a Street Wraith or something like that. Alright, so, I mean, not the worst. A land will let us get the Vengevine back. They have Solitude Ephemerate, though, which stinks. Get to gain a lot of life. They did mulligan to 5 to find this. I'm at 31. They do have a second land. So my intention is to block the Solitude and then cycle the Hollow One. Out of all the Darsa builds you made, which do you find better? The Helping Hand build or Prowess Adjacent? The Jeskai Ascendancy build was what I felt to be certainly the best after testing. I really like the Jeskai Ascendancy build. We owe it another challenge after misclicking round 1 against Ginger. There's a Felia, which is kind of scary. That is what they choose to get back. They have another land. Pretty good multiply for them, huh? Okay, thankfully we drew a Lightning Bolt. I'm going to flash back just the looting here, though. So their hand is Felia, mystery card. Okay, they have a Ketramos, which is bad. We have a lot of life points. Rebuilding. People always say black-white is good in the Titan, and this was certainly not my experience. I think black-white can win against Titan. It's a lot worse if your opponent knows how to play around Solitude. You're really weak to the scape shift lines. You're really weak to losing the die roll. But you have some curves that can beat it, for sure. But I would say Titan is the favorite in the matchup, and I think there's usually a lot of black-white cope. Yeah, Cultivator Colossus is like literally unbeatable. Yes, like Scape Shift is just 4 mana win the game, and it's been a very hard way to interact with. All right, so the hand is still just Ophelia. Let's go Haste the Shark. I might flashback 2 Winternight Stories. I don't know if that's more like... I think that's a bit more likely than I end up casting a second creature with haste. Okay, my discards were not awesome here. Was very much hoping that I would be able to get this Vengevine back. So I guess flying is just really important, so... Yeah, black-white is basically Jund, and it's weak against big mana, for sure. What about a disinformation campaign deck with surveillance? That card is just kind of weak, even if you're playing it every turn. Would a 1-red, 3/3, no downside text be modern playable, still worse than DRC? I mean, DRC is nuts, but like, people played Wild Nikado for a long time, and like that card is like a lot worse than a 1-mana red 3/3. So yeah, it would see some play, I think. Arena of Glory. Okay. I guess I'm going to bolt the Witch Enchanter. Okay, so I'll discard creature card here. I have to go 2 cards if I want to go hollow 1 for 0 mana here. Now I want to go hollow 1 with 0 so I can put a Phoenix on it. Exile a Goblin Lore and a Goblin Lore and a Bolt and an Inquiry. Yeah, Ketros has fallen off pretty hard. I mean, I think the biggest reason is that, like, Eldrazi and Titan have kind of rose to be part of Tier 1. This deck is also not, I think, particularly good against Prowess. It's not particularly bad against it either, but it can kind of have an aggro problem in general. Like, it was pretty bad against Burn when Burn was popular for a bit. So you just kind of probably, I would say, poorly positioned. Like I think black-white is really good against like some spell-based combo decks, graveyard-based decks, and Boros and Dimir. This tends to be where Orzhov shines. Among all the lists you've tested, what would you say is the best monument to endurance deck? Definitely the mono red aggressive build. I think that build's probably underplayed too, to be honest. All right, going to game 3. Usually keep these. Faults on Affinity. Affinity sucks, I think. I mean, it doesn't suck. I shouldn't say that, but it's hard to build. It's hard to find the best 75, and your Affinity builds are, the big problem with Affinity before Mox Opal was that your deck was slow, fragile, and inconsistent. Affinity is still fragile and inconsistent. It's more viable right now because there isn't a lot of disenchant effects. There are not a lot of anti-artifact cards in the format at the moment. if that ever changes, Affinity seems to be pretty cooked. The deck is very beatable if people want to beat it, but it's at the moment it seems to be keeping a low enough profile that people aren't very focused on winning against it. And so like, I don't know if that's a good or a bad review for the deck, but that's the review. Okay, gotta main phase this because otherwise they can adapt in response, right? Spike playing a meta deck. What's going on with the twist? Well, is Winternight Phoenix Hollow One? Sorry, is Winternight Hollow One a meta deck? As far as I can tell, like this deck has kind of fallen off the map despite getting a good new tool in Winternight Stories, and I'm still in playtesting stage, and Winternight Stories is a very good card for a very good deck. Okay, thankfully no Bowmaster. Graveyard's Ophelia. They troll me, but my graveyard's really not that scary. This is mostly just Exiles of Looting, so don't mind that so much. I guess I'll just leave myself the option to maybe flashback the stories here. I'm not exactly sure what that would look like. Like, it would have to be like Hollow One plus Street Wraith. I think I'm still going to go 2 cards discarded so that I can cast the Hollow One this turn. I think probably better to discard a Looting than a land, although that could be wrong. And also when it comes to Hollow One, like post MH3 especially, like the Hollow One's evolution has a big trend on this channel. Like I think I was the one who started playing Nethergoyf in the deck, and then when FOMO came out, we spent a lot of time working on the FOMO builds, and then like 6 months ago, I'm like, I really think the Vengevine builds are the best, and like a month and a half, 2 months ago, people started playing Vengevine, and you know, I don't know. There's always been a lot of Hollow One innovation on this channel. So they go after the Emperor instead of getting rid of my Winternight Stories. Probably the right call for them. Felia, Emperor, Witch Enchanter are their options here. They do choose Witch Enchanter. And then there's a Ketchamos. There's Ketchamos is also online here. So things are not looking very good. They do return the Ketchamos. I'm going to take 5 and not feel like that's definitely correct. It does seem like I'm going to have to end up tapping this for the stories. So just a creature card discarded. Cast the Looting. Looking like a 3/2. So if I discard 2 cards, I can cast this Hollow One this turn. No, I cast the Looting, so just 1. Although this is just so tough to like discard the Phoenix here into the Emperor. Yeah, I mean, I agree that like Cutter and Phoenix can both go in the same deck, but like, it's just you have to build it. It's not clear how you would build it either. Like what the direction looks like. Would an Otter Town Cutter list work for Modern? Probably not. Wait, what did they exile? They exiled the Vengevine? Not the. I think both of these were better. I don't love trading off, but the thing is the Ketchamos blocks so well. Oh, they have a Solitude? Do they also have an Ephemerate? You know Ephemerate's good. Yeah, you really need to play Detectives Phoenix. Oh, you're playing Arc-like Phoenix. I think we were talking about Detectives Phoenix instead. Yeah, you could build it this direction. Yeah, we played Mono Red Phoenix. It's probably a good place to play the Steel Cutter, and I agree. Oh, they have a Relic. Keeps getting better. I don't know. I don't really know what winning this game looks like. I'm trying to visualize it. All right, not like this. So 3-2 this league. If you played all 8 Rootwallas, the green Rootwalla is not legal in Modern. Okay, so we got a few options here. I thought these two decks.